We are live, and let me start my intro video because there's like cool animation video. I have to click on it. Hi! Yo!
Hi! Good morning,
right.
Good morning.
So we have today this. All right. For first of all, this show is going to be entirely in English today because you don't speak Bengali, except for the except I taught you how to say "How are you doing," which is "Ami hagu korechi." So but aside from that, today we have with us one of my dearest friends in the whole world, but that's not why she's here. Debra Ramirez is a photographer who is, Jesus Christ, where do I begin with you? You are right now. You do a lot of political photography, and you do a lot of, So I know that's what you do for a living, and then you do the nature stuff and the art stuff. That's just like for yourself.
Yeah, so it's just like a side hobby that I kind of like to do because it helps balance the mentality of keeping up with political views and what's going on. Because I mean, right now we live in Trump era, so it's kind of a photographer's, base camp. Anywhere you go, really, there's something always to photograph, and it can kind of get emotional and kind of just I don't know, a bit stressful because, politics are politics. So to keep the balance, nature, cars, beautiful women, just street photography, like people watching is also really fascinating. And some days it's just really awesome to just photograph that. And everything around you is a perfect setting for that, especially. So keeping the balance is definitely what I try to maintain, especially these days right now with COVID.
So to finish that introduction, one of by the way, that's like our favorite viewer, by the way, who just said hi. So and this is a gentleman asking me how I'm doing. I'm সকালে হাগু হয়েছে, and I will say to him in Bengali that I'm doing great, which is যে আমি আজকে 2.5 কেজি হাগু করেছি. Oh, and there's Paloma in the background. She didn't see us. So also we're wearing headphones. I don't know if she can hear us. So anyway, but the other thing that I would also this is a music oriented show, and I know that you have a lot of experience being like a touring rock photographer. So we're going to talk about that. And then the other thing that I think is really important is you have managed to carve out, a career path as a photographer in, which is increasingly getting harder and harder. I see that, people shoot with, like we have entire campaigns all around the world. Yeah. We have like fucking billboards that say shot with an iPhone. And here you are, somebody who's, trained in the old school methods using film, and you use a process which is a lot more complicated than something that's becoming more accessible every day. And there's no photography, or I mean there's no place where you can just like sign up and get a 9 to 5 photography job like an accountant or something. But you manage to like marry all of your all the different sides of your personality, your love of art, your political activism, and your love of music into all of this. And I think that many of our viewers are younger people who also wish to make a living in the creative fields. So I think that that's something you can speak to as well, if that's okay with you. And
oh yeah, definitely. It's all about marketing, really. 50% of what you do in the photography business is how you market, how you brand yourself, and just applying yourself to a ton of emails, like hundreds of them within a day, or you get a lot of no's first rather than people wanting you on board with their project or collaboration. So you definitely have to build a structural wall and barrier that you're gonna 50% of the time is just you constantly trying and trying and trying and marketing yourself to a point where people want you. And the other half of that is the work that you do. If you have a good eye, then people will want to see that even more. And yeah, just be a good business marketer, pretty much.
So how long have you been, like a professional photographer? How did you get your start? I know that you started off in medical school. It's kind of
I did. So I was going to school for neuroscience, and my second major was biochemistry. And literally it was going so bad that I became really broke just trying to make ends meet with maintaining, a 9 to 5 job, or even like a 5 to midnight job at restaurants in LA, trying to pay for a $3,500 rent fee and maintaining full classes every week. It was just really difficult. And so I decided to just go ahead and leave school because I was so broke and I had pretty much everything to lose at that point. So, I mean, at that point in my life, I figured, you know what, why am I busting my butt for this little bits of life and I'm not even really enjoying it? And I kind of went against everybody saying, artists, musicians, and anything in the art industry, you're constantly starving. And I was already starving. So I decided I might as well do something that I really love and am passionate about. And I quit school. And 2 weeks later, I was hopping on a tour bus with Motorhead and just started my photography journey. And that's pretty much how it began. And funny thing is, I actually was horrible at photography and I hated it in high school. It was my elective class and I actually failed it. And it wasn't until 6 years later that I fell in love with it.
That seems, I think I met you right after you dropped out of medical school, and you had the really inspiring story about how you couldn't afford an apple as a medical student. Oh my
goodness, yeah, I remember that. That was the day that I had left, actually, because I went to the cafeteria and all I wanted was a nice crisp apple, and I think it was like 101 degrees that day. Like, it was really hot and humid, so an apple felt very good to have, and I just couldn't afford eating an apple. And so I went to class hungry and angry, and everything in my head was just going through constantly, and I was second guessing everything that I had already made choices about. And I was just like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go into the music art industry and hopefully make it doing that. And I went to the bathroom. Well, I told my professor that I wanted to go to the bathroom. I took all my belongings, but really I didn't go to the bathroom. I just kept walking and walking, and then next thing you know, I'm at the bus stop going home. And that was the last time I ever went on a campus back in California.
And 2 weeks later, you were touring the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's insane. How did you get that job?
Dumb luck, really. I was on a blind date and it was going horrible.
What happened to your date size?
We didn't find each other attractive.
Oh no, I thought you meant like he was blind.
No, blind. No, so a blind date is somebody who hooks you up on a date and you just don't know that person or seen them. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone unless you like to try things.
I mean, we are gonna ask you to rate Bangladeshi bachelors from a scale of John Kabir to Adnan Babu. So, you will have your choice of dates later on.
Hey, where's the roses?
I mean, he's wearing the roses
shirt
on his shirt.
I was gonna say, I love the shirt.
So you were on a blind date, and
yeah, that I actually met through Backpage. It was just like men seeking woman because I'm lonely, I'm interesting, and he was really interesting. He was like the grandchild of the first guy who did Family Feud television game show. So like, and he was also the manager of Iron Maiden, the all-girl cover band.
Oh yeah, the Iron Maidens. I know them. I mean, I don't know them,
but that guy, but he was just too weird and just, I don't know, just it didn't work out. And so our date, he was just like, okay, let's go see Motorhead. I'll introduce you to them, and we'll part ways. And he introduced me to Motorhead and stuff like that. And I had my camera, and I photographed them, and I let them see them a couple of days once I put the edits together. And next thing you know, I'm 2 weeks hopping on a tour bus, and I'm photographing them as a lifestyle.
That is so insane. So how did that work? Like, did you have to, I don't know, like you sign a contract and then they give you a plane ticket?
So the contract actually started at a gay club in West Hollywood where I was with Phil Campbell and his personal assistant, and we were talking over about touring and the needs and the lifestyle of like what it could be. And we kind of did like that old fashioned like 19th century like handshake like type of contract. And then after that, like when I remember when I flew into Texas and met up with a tour manager, I think at the Four Seasons. Yeah, that's where I signed my contract. But yeah, it first started like an old 19th century handshake of like open endings. You get a photograph.
Like you shake the hand like that because otherwise it's not official.
But yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. And then
where did you guys, like, did you tour America first? Because I know you have a lot of stories of, I think my favorite stories are about going into Canada.
Yeah, so my first tour was in the United States. It was the second, or I would say probably the third week into their tour. So it's freshly new. They were finishing up all of California. So I met up with them in Texas. And then from Texas, we just went state to state pretty much within the next month and a half, and then to Canada. And then I stopped in Florida, but they continued on to a cruise ship, which I think went to Costa Rica or something like that. I don't really remember, but I'm glad I stopped at Florida because I was, 3 months is a long time for touring.
Yeah, and how does that work? Like you
guys
have a show
bus, like
every
4
night
hours you're driving, and you have your own bunk bed, and in the far back is where Lemmy has his like lair. Pretty much it's just like his own room pretty much. And then you have like your kitchen, and and you have about 2 of those, and then 2 of just really big semi trucks that carry the cargo and all the equipment.
And how many bathrooms per bus?
1. So we have a rule where if you need to go number 2, you have to tell the driver and he pulls over somewhere. That's the rule on the tour bus. You can never go number 2 on the bus. But Lemmy didn't care. He would do whatever he wanted. But that's Lemmy.
But so my question then becomes, if you're touring, so you guys would eat at rest stops, right? Like McDonald's and Taco Bell and stuff like that, right?
No, we would actually have food on the bus, like from catering. So like we would have leftovers, or if somebody brought something from a certain state that was really popular, then we'd have that in our fridge. But
Wow.
Phil Campbell actually really loved truck stops because he liked the whole 7-Eleven taquitos or like the hot dogs. And I really like beef jerky too, so we would constantly be on our porch, bus driver, pull over, please. But
that's amazing.
That and everybody gets on each other's nerves, so you kind of need that fresh air break.
I can't imagine, walking into a bus stop and like running into Lemmy. That must be the craziest. Like, is that would that happen every time you stop? Like, would he get mobbed or?
No, some people wouldn't even. They looked at him like he was just crazy. Like, he's kind of an intimidating looking man if you didn't know him, but kind of as a teddy bear. But in public, like, people they would just stare and not really bother us.
I think there's a scene in one of his biopics where somebody tells him that he looks just like Lemmy. I'm not sure. I have to look on YouTube. We have a concert photographer who has questions. Hello, Rafi. Tell us about the touring experiences. Do they allow to shoot anything? Do you have to get permission to go on stage? What are the backstage experiences? Is there any time limit for shooting on stage? He's a concert photographer too.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. No, great questions. So backstage experiences, it kind of varies depending on the musicians, really, because some of them, they could have good days, bad days, but touring with Motorhead, they were one of the few bands that I didn't have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but they were pretty open about anything. So, I mean, you could go backstage and just depending on the passes that they give you, you have access to pretty much anywhere. So you also get to hang out with like other musicians that were on that same tour too. And yeah, I mean, rock stars sometimes like will throw a fit and be throwing glasses, but like that's a rarity. And they normally let you shoot whatever, even them like shooting the shit or like being with women, like they really don't care. Especially and they're jokesters too, so like there's a lot of prank and they'll be like, hey, can you get this on camera? Like this is going to be great, like come with me, like so. But and no, security will also let you do pretty much anything because they'll notice like who you're with and they'll let you do your job as well. And they're on time for shooting, for staging, except for festivals. That is only the really strict time frame. Like once the last song ends and before they even take down their guitars to their guitar tech, like you had to be out of there and in the car because the mob of people are just so insane that it's just like in a blink of an eye, the car is gone and you're left behind and you have to find your way back to the tour bus. It's like a very quick set schedule of like go, 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 or
That's
you're
insane.
end up being left behind in the mob. But European tours are completely different from the US tours.
How?
Because European tours, we would try to leave the venue and there was just so many people outside waiting that we would have to leave the back door in a car, and then halfway on the road or freeway, we would have to pull over, switch cars, and then so that the fans wouldn't know what cars we were in. And then we would drive up to the hotel and go in the back door where all the cooks and chefs from the restaurants and hotel will be cooking. And it was like a back door of like this maze into a European hotel, all because there's too many fans. And people would literally run after the vehicle, like yelling for their name and just taking pictures and stuff. And it was really crazy. And I think it was Germany where it was an award show for the Nobel Peace Prize. And there was like a prince from Dubai and then there was Motorheads all staying in one hotel. So that was pretty intense too. So
did the Dubai Prince, was he the guy who stole Lemmy's hat?
actually no, but him and Lemmy were trying, like Lemmy was trying to leave and the Prince was trying to get into the hotel, and it was like those roundabout elevators, and it got stuck. So there's all these people taking pictures of the Prince and Lemmy, but they're both like goldfishes just stuck.
I'm imagining, you know, this guy just, you know, in an abaya and like, you know, wearing all white. You're like, astaghfirullah, and Lemmy's
oh man,
just like,
it was too funny. And we were late for a show, so Lemmy was livid.
Allah. Did you
And security was hilarious. Like, oh man.
what was your, I think one of the stories I remember that you told me, which was really cool, was that you know, was about meeting Jimmy Page.
Oh yeah, that was at the Rock and Roll Hall, the Hall of Fame Rock and Roll for musicians. It was a music award, and it was my first show that I had ever really gone to. I mean, everybody, like, I don't know, since I'm from Hollywood, I would always grow up watching the Golden Globes or, you know, award ceremonies, and I would always see the people being all glammed up and walking the red carpet. And I always wondered what that would be like. Little did I know, fast forward to when I'm in my 20s, that I would be doing the same thing. And it was an experience. It really was. I mean, the red carpet experience is not what it looks like on TV. It's literally people just like grabbing you, yelling at you in all different directions. And once you step out of the vehicle, it's just flash mode and you can't see anything. And so you're just like pushing through. And then once you get inside the building, that's when, you know, they do the whole posing, taking photos, and then you're in the lobby where they have the ceremony. And it's like actually a 3.5, 4-course meal.
What did you have? What did you?
I think it was like seafood or something like that. It was very exotic, but like very small too. But I was so nervous I couldn't eat.
Did you?
And they would have buckets in the center of each table of just alcohol, beer, and all different types of booze you can imagine. And of course, Motorhead would have buckets of Jack Daniels everywhere they went. But that was a pretty crazy experience. And it was just a giant room full of rock stars and musicians. And there was like Brian May and Jimmy Page. And I was just like, you want to take a picture? And I was just like, what? And I was completely blown away. And they were the nicest, coolest people ever to just hang out with for a night.
You said that one of them smelled really nice. Was it?
Yeah, that was Jimmy Page. He smelled really nice.
And I wonder what perfume he uses.
I don't know. I mean, Europe has some pretty awesome cologne and perfumes. So if you're anybody ever out there, definitely hit up the duty free because it's nothing like you've ever smelled. It's delicious.
Actually, since you are, I'm just gonna pivot for 1 second because I have a really important question. Because you are a photographer, and in that capacity, you meet a lot of beautiful women. Can you help my friend Adhib find a girlfriend? He's 16 years old. He's starting to shower every day. He's been working on that, and he's a great drummer, and he knows how to play at least 4 chords. And he's
what's funny is that I think I'm a really good matchmaker for my friends. So yes, definitely. Yes to his question.
Nice. I will connect you guys. And he did say that the day he finds a girlfriend, he's gonna shower every day from that day forward.
Would he be offended if she knew how to play more than 4 chords?
No, not at all.
Cool.
He's in a band with my daughter who's 14, and she plays 5 instruments. See, there's my daughter. Hi, daughter. This is like a family affair, What was the craziest thing that ever happened to you on tour?
The craziest?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I get that asked a lot, but it's hard because they're 3-member band, and Lemmy was the crazy one out of all of them. Mickey D was kind of the one that everybody hated, but he didn't care, and so
Why?
he was
He's
just
such an amazing drummer.
right. But like him and Phil never. Phil Campbell never really gets along with drummers. He has this like curse almost where like he ends up hating drummers no matter how great they are, and the drummers will know that, and so they end up having this like on battle war, and it's kind of funny to see during the tour. But Phil Campbell is also the jokester, so he would do a lot of gross things along with having fart machines planted everywhere.
Like, what would he do? I love fart machines. I love farts. You know that.
Yeah, he would even be sleeping, and all of us will be hanging out, eating in the common area of the tour bus, and all of a sudden you'll just hear thousands of farts going off. Like it's just oh don't, like it's not really us, it's just the fart machines going off. And that would happen too as like the bellmans would be taking all our luggage. It was like his fart machines would go off in the elevators. But no, and like you never leave your food unattended by any one of these because they will always mess with it no matter what. I've seen a lot of gross stuff, like celery stick like rubbed in someone's butt and then placed back, and then walking after the show, that brown celery stick completely gone, and you're just like, someone actually ate that. So a lot of stuff like that would happen, and yeah, there would be a lot of, I don't know who's I would probably say Lemmy though. Like he I don't know how he slept either. I felt like he never really slept. Like it was always naps or like just resting, and he was always constantly writing and reading books. Like his bunk was full of books all the time. And it was mostly about history too. So you could literally ask Lemmy about any part of history, and he would know and answer a story and certain facts to it. He was so consumed with history that you could ask him pretty much anything, and it was really fascinating. And how he connected that with history and his clothing, it was unique. But yeah. I'd probably say Lemmy was the craziest. They were definitely doing a lot of drugs too. Like their band is named after their favorite drug, which I had no idea at the time.
Right? I know this because it's speed. I know this because you told me this.
Yeah. And I was just all like, wait, what? And that's actually how Lemmy found Phil Campbell and why he picked him. It wasn't because of his insane guitar solos, but it was because of his insane connection that he could get for Speed. And during the auditions, Phil brought him a sample of Speed, and Lemmy was just like, all right, you're in the band. Because it was like the greatest kind that he had ever tried.
That's amazing. Lemmy gave you some advice about drug use too, right?
Yeah, he said he doesn't care what you do, just don't do heroin. Because he's seen a lot of people die from that, and he almost lost Phil because of that. And his drummer.
I think when you told me about this story, it was that he called you into his like lair and he said, "Debra, I want you to promise never to do heroin." And you're like, okay, because you've never done any drugs. And then he gave you a bag of Speed and said, do Speed instead. It's so much better for you.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we ended up just like conversating, and really cool conversation that really was. And it was an honor too for him to just be like, hey, I want to have a conversation with Debra, the photographer, because she has done so much more than, taking photos. And it was a really cool experience. And yeah,
You were there when, like, all of the, when his diagnosis happened too, right?
Yeah, so when I first started touring with them, I started in Texas, and I didn't think after Texas that I would even continue touring with them because Lemmy was so bad. He actually went on stage and sang one song, and in between that one song, he couldn't even finish, and he walked off stage, and he he actually apologized to me and everybody in backstage, just standing there like wondering if he's okay. He was just like, "I'm sorry, guys, but I can't continue on. I don't feel good." And he ended up getting admitted to the hospital because he had so much water in his lungs. Not water, but a type of liquid.
Yeah.
Um, and he was in the hospital for 8 days. And so the tour was on hold for 8 days. But then after that, Lemmy was just like, okay, I'm better. Let's go. Hop on the tour bus. And then we finished the US tour like that, which was absolutely insane. And people thought it wasn't going to be his, you know, they thought that he wasn't going to finish his tour at all. But he did. And it was pretty incredible. And there was also a health issue with Phil and the European tour that happened, and he almost died. So, I mean, these guys were hardcore and they didn't care. And they would sign these like release forms saying if I die because my heart rate goes a certain amount, then, I can't sue, or my family can't sue for releasing me from the hospital.
Oh
and
my God.
They would take flights here and there and just hop on stage and just perform, even though the doctor says you can die literally on stage doing that. And they're just like, well, let me die doing what I love and for my fans. Like, that would be great. Like, Lemmy really, like, he dreamed of dying on stage, but if not, he wouldn't mind have died at home in LA, where he really loves it.
That's amazing. And after he passed away, you what did you do? Like, I guess, I think that's what happened, like, when what happened, like, what did you do after he passed away? How did you react?
I mean, he was
Like, it was
sick,
an emotional
so I
time
got
for
a phone
you.
call from Phil like about 3 days before he passed away, saying that he's not doing well, that they found something terminal, and that he probably only has a month left. Little did he know, and little did anyone know, that he was going to die 3 days later. And he actually died on my birthday, which was even more kind of hurtful. It was just like an emotional time, really. But I mean, everybody knew he wasn't doing well, but we didn't know how sick he was until the European tour in December was over, and then early January he found out the news, and then 3 days before he passed away, he thought he had a month, but really it wasn't. So it was kind of sad. It happened almost like too quick, in a way you couldn't really understand everything. And then they had to get the funeral and ceremony ready and make it a public thing. So it was definitely really hard for everyone.
I'm taking a picture of Akil Khan, who's staring in a really cute way. Of course, the moment I take out my camera, he's gone. And then what did you do after that? What, like, did you?
After that, I moved to Malibu because LA was just kind of depressing for a long time, because, I toured for about 2.5 years with Motorhead. And after that was over, it was kind of like an abrupt halt, because that lifestyle was so fast paced that living in LA was kind of very depressing. And I mean, LA is in general really a depressing city, in my opinion. So I moved to Malibu thinking, oh, living on the beach, maybe that would fulfill like some happiness, or void the sadness, but it kind of didn't. So then I just started touring again with local bands and then traveling from different states, trying to figure out where I would like to move. And then Massachusetts, I absolutely fell in love with, and I figured, why not move out there and go back to school and get my photojournalist degree and just do that.
Wait,
and
didn't you also tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
yeah, that was actually my last tour, and yeah, that was awesome. Actually, apparently word has it around that they're working on something new.
I didn't know that. So
and
did you
Flea won an award for his audiobook for children, Acid for Children, I think. But word has it that they're working on something interesting right now. But I don't know if it's true or not.
Chad Smith played in Ozzy's album. That was really good. Did you ever meet Ozzy?
No. I did not. That would be a weird encounter, I feel like.
I think you have to. I want to talk about your political photography, because I think that's an important, aside from your art, I think that's something that's more accessible to people in terms of, how to express themselves. But before that, I think for our friend Rashnan, you have to give us some stories.
I demand more about the experience with them.
So, give us like one story.
Well, good or bad? I mean, I guess they're all kind of a combination of good and bad. I remember it was December. I think it was in Sweden, maybe, that we were in. But in Sweden, it was like 3-4 a.m. and we had just drove, I think, a 12-hour after a long show. And Phil Campbell was like, high and awake off of speed and just like really loud in the lobby. And in Europe, they go all crazy decorative with Christmas decorations. And I remember there was a Santa with the reindeers and this giant Christmas tree, and Phil decided to hop onto one of those reindeers. And little did he know that those reindeers had wheels. And so he started just wheeling off, and he crashed into the Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree just came tumbling down and crashing. And people were yelling at this point, like running away from this giant Christmas tree. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. We were just all so tired and just watching this happen. None of us stopped it either. We're just like, let it be. But the hotel workers were really cool about it. And later that afternoon, when I got breakfast or a brunch, the tree was back up in the Santa Claus, but there was no reindeer. They kind of took him out.
So I think that we have another question from our friend Rafi. Do you have any plan to come to Bangladesh?
I hope so. Bangladesh is a cool place. Sorry, my computer's dying. No, Bangladesh is a cool place. I would absolutely love to go.
So
take me to be my tour guide.
Oh yeah, no, we have to. I have to take you to. I have to take you to this place called Al Razak. They have these desserts. They have a roshogulla, which is like ricotta cheese that's deep fried and soaked in syrup. But the one that they have, they call it an atom bomb, because usually they're like, the size of small meatballs, but at Al Razak they're this big. It's amazing. I once went there.
Fried and cheese.
It's so amazing, because I remember going there, and I was with this girl, and she wanted to watch what she ate, and she just looked through the menu, and she's like, "Do you guys have any vegetables at all?" And they like just they did a huddle. They had to consult the chef, and they finally found her some potatoes that had been, and this girl was a vegetarian, but they finally found her potatoes that had been roasted inside a goat's belly, like while the goat was roasting. That was the only veggies they had. So I think that
That sounds actually pretty good though. Like roasted veggies, like yeah.
No. When we go to Al Razak after we come out of that, if you're on a tour bus, you would have to tell the bus driver to stop at least 4 or 5 times, because you'd have to make number 2 several times.
Okay. Yeah.
But
and you know what's funny though is that a lot of the tour buses were nurses. They were retired nurses or just taking a break from the medical field. And they just wanted a break and to kind of once in their life just be in the music industry. So they ended up being our tour bus drivers, and they were the coolest people all the time. Every single one of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take people through some of your pictures that you've taken. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna just put up the pictures on the screen, and you can just talk a little bit about it. So this is
the bomber, we call it. It's a vintage frame from, I guess, the war times that they got, and they created it and hung it on every stage in Europe on the European tour. It was the coolest thing ever.
And then
it moves actually too.
What?
Yeah, it moves, and that's how their lighting system also worked. As you can see, like some of the lights on the
wait. So do they attach it from the ceiling of a?
Yeah, so it's hanging from these wires, and it moves every song in a different way, and the lighting system is just like insanely cool.
Allah.
Somebody mentioned like, oh, they're bringing the bomber this year, and I was just like, what is that? And they're just like, wait until you see it. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty insane. It was huge.
That's crazy, because usually when we play a concert, me and Jason take turns holding up flashlights with red paper on glued to the bulb.
Yeah, and they had to tear that thing down and put it back up every time. So
Allah.
Talk to them.
And then this image is called Take the Stage.
Yeah, so I would take a photo every time before they took the stage, and seeing the crowd and the mic and an empty stage before. And it's just so interesting how the crowd is so quiet, and you hear like them having conversations within themselves, and then all of a sudden the members walk on stage, and it just this giant roar. It's just something so awesome and alive that it's just a great feeling hearing that every single time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then this is called Take a Bow, I guess, which is at the end of the show where you see the audience being totally different.
Yeah.
Like they're going nuts. Oh my God. And that I'm trying to wait, I guess I can't point at the screen, but I can see like, the bombers. That's literally a fucking plane. That's literally the guts of a plane.
It's literally the frame of an old bomber.
Allah.
Like I said, Lemmy was really into vintage stuff like that in the war times. So
yeah.
He liked to incorporate that in his work a lot of the time. Especially, I think their album Bad Magic, I think it was like a certain award on the front, like back in the civil, like a ribbon for doing something in the war. I'm not 100% sure though.
I'm gonna check that right now. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, so you incorporate a lot of history with his work. It was really interesting.
And then we have Phil Campbell here.
Yep.
And
smiling. He always looks angry.
I know. I've never I all the pictures that I see of him, he always looks like, he looks like Shakib Pai when he hears a bad note. He's always like you don't want to mess with him.
That's actually a perfect description, yeah. But really, he's like the worst hardcore joker on tour out of everybody.
Oh, that is not the case with Shaki Bhai. And then
this is Jackson getting ready backstage before they go on again, which was really cool because they had these vests full of patches from their entire life that they all wore. Each member had. So
it is
Saxon, I think, did the U.S. tour and the European tour. So we did 2 tours with them. They were awesome, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're such a great band. And then we have this is one of my favorite. You know the reason why this is one of my favorite shots is this is the dumbest thing, but each of these boxes like
carry something. Yeah.
No, but these boxes are like $600-700 each, So
yeah,
they have I think that to have that many boxes, did these guys carry a lot of gear with them? Like
oh my goodness, I think like Lemmy had 5 guitars and Phil had, I think, like I think there was 32 guitars total. I'm not sure if that was just by one member or by both of them, but I remember seeing number 6 out of 32, and I was just like, that's kind of crazy for one person, for even 2 people.
That's really, that's more guitars than anybody needs. And then this is Nibs. Who's Liv Carter?
That's a member of Saxon. He was actually the craziest out of all of them. He would run into glass doors and shatter them. And, yeah. He took party to another level. But he was so good. He was really good. He was the most hyper energetic one out of all of them.
That just seems so amazing to me because you are such a calm and centered person. I can't imagine you and like this is such a great shot too. Oh my god. So is this before or after the show?
This was after the show. I actually left right before the last song was finished, and I saw this moment where this was actually in Europe too. So it was, I think, our second to the last show. So it was kind of emotional at every show, at the end of every show. And I saw this woman, and I just thought it was a beautiful moment, her just standing there watching. And I took the shot, and yeah, I'm really glad I did.
It's such an amazing picture. And then here's Mickey D.
Drumming away.
Drummers of all time.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys still had hearing, because I mean, he would drum, as you can tell, like in all the speakers, and it was just insane. I definitely lost some hearing touring with Motorhead.
And then we have this isn't a band. I thought this was one of the black and whites was one of the band pictures, so we'll get back to this. This is a picture of the dressing room.
Yeah, so they were preparing. Mickey was complaining about his fingers not being right, and Phil, I don't know, Phil was just being a jokester, doing whatever hand gestures he could.
This is such a great picture. Like, we never think about
in the background.
And then this is a shot. Oh my god, this is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Man, and then the last of the rock shots is of the king himself.
Yep.
Man, who's the guy in the white shirt?
So he was a guy, what was his name? He was in a really cool band, Maryland something, but he was a brilliant singer, and he did a harmonica solo with Phil and his guitar solo.
Wow.
And he was like the coolest guy ever, like literally rocking out with like the mic wrapped around his neck, twirling it like a torpedo, and he would be hanging from the bomber, just like, he wouldn't care even after people told him no. Like, he was just that hyper energetic performer, and he could hit high notes like no other.
And then, man, I'm just overwhelmed. And I guess the question that Rafi has is the same question that I have. You know, do you have moments when you get confused? Like, should I take photos or should I enjoy the show?
Yes, I did. In Europe, there was a time where Phil had to get hospitalized for about a week because there was a cyst blocking his blood flow to his liver. And so all the blood that was supposed to go to his liver was going all over his body. And this was happening within months and months. Like, it was happening for such a long time that his whole body had all this blood and it couldn't store it anywhere else. So finally his esophagus bursted and he had to go into like an emergency surgery. And he was in ICU for a week, and he woke up and was just like, I need to go out and perform. Like, Lemmy has been in worse scenarios, like, get me out of here. And that was a true experience of like the whole tour had left us to Germany, because this was in Berlin, and everybody was already in, I think, Gothenburg. Yeah. And we flew out the same day that he checked himself out of the hospital. And the doctor was just like, if you perform and something bad goes wrong, or a stitch tears, like, you're done for. There's no way you're going to survive that. And he didn't care. So he left and he went on stage, and it was the worst show ever, but it was an emotional one because, and also inspiring, but it was also a historical moment of like, well, should I be respectful and not take a photo? Should I enjoy this moment with everyone? Or should I, continue my work? And I feel as a photographer, we always have that battle. Should we enjoy our moment or not? But in reality, I always come to the same answer, and it's, you got to take it. That's being part of a photographer. No matter what, or no matter how bad it comes off to be, you got to do it. And I mean, it's our job to do that. And it's kind of a downfall, but in the end, it's rewarding to what you will leave behind once you pass away and continue. Your work will continue on. You'll be that one person in that one moment. You might as well sacrifice it. So definitely take the shot.
Then this brings us to, some of your political stuff. I know that that's like, or wait, sorry, let me just, I always get confused figuring out how to display stuff. I know that, like what you do for a living now is you take, pictures for a news organization, and you cover a lot of, the really dangerous protests and, like the anti-mask protests. And I see and I know that you've gone like into the South, and then you had to drive back from Pennsylvania because they wouldn't let you on a plane. And and how does you're going from one extreme, you're going from the extreme pleasure of being in rock music to seeing people, fight for their lives, or fight against other people's lives. And how do you approach that conflict? Like, how does that go?
It could go, honestly, 100 different ways. Every day is always different. I've been pepper sprayed, not fully in the face, but on the back. And let me tell you, it does suck. So, I mean, brutality is definitely a thing out there. And again, we are living in an era where it's acceptable, and we have to, no matter people work in harsh environments. So this is no different, really. The environment is other people doing damage, either to you or to others. And you just got to go out there. And bring a backpack full of emergency stuff or stuff that you think you will need in case of an emergency. You always have to be prepared as a photographer. And you're always more likely to lose a camera or somebody trying to, or even the crowd protecting you, because it's what you do that helps them get their words out and what is actually going on.
And
it's another form of truth, really.
It really is. And I guess the other question would be, which Ratul is asking, is like, what kind of equipment do you take to a situation where, like, you know, you're going to go into a crowd? You can't have, like, you know, like 5 different fancy lenses. You know, you have to kind of choose what equipment you take, and how do you make that decision?
So I definitely don't shoot film during times like that, even though I've seen people do it and some of their work is amazing. But right now I'm using a Fuji X-T3, and if I'm feeling a little hesitant, then I go what I call my rock, which is a Canyon. Anything Canyon is durable, it's weatherproof, and the lenses will last you a lifetime, even if you drop your camera, which I've done, or I've gotten pushed down to the ground, and you know, it's my go-to camera all the way. Mark D, even the Rebel T3i, and all the Rebel cameras are actually very affordable with great lenses that you can do on a budget. So if you can't afford like the Mark D or the Mark IIIs or the Fujis, then definitely I say go for the Rebels, because you won't regret it. They're durable. I've even taken them in sandstorms and traveling, and they're just like my rocks to go to. And I have about 5 different lenses. So 18 millimeter to 35 to, I think right now my highest is a 50 millimeter. So,
you know, I was briefly married earlier this year, and I think that my highest was also 50 millimeters. So I'm gonna, is it okay to share your Instagram handle so that people can follow you? Okay. Because I want to take them through your art stuff, you know? But I also want that to be, you know, you see how I did that?
that's awesome.
I know, you can type whatever you want, like, you know. So Pad is the Bengali word for rock music. So if you say so if you say I love Pad, it means you love rock music.
Pad.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. That's actually really easy to remember. I like that.
You can say I love Pads to any Bengali, and they're gonna be like, this chick loves rock music, you know?
Cool.
Like, awesome. I tell people all the time, I'm a Podcore, I'm addicted to rock music, you know? So we're gonna go through some of your pictures, starting with this Venice picture. And this is one of the most amazing things, is like, we hang out all the time, and we'll like walk by a place, and you will just, you know, see something amazing that nobody else sees. And that's one of, you know, your wonderful things that you do as an artist that I really admire about your art, is that you frame, you know, I mean, this has happened so many times where you and I have taken pictures of, like, you know, the same fucking cat sitting beside each other. And my thing is just like, here's a cat. And your thing is like, you know, here's like a bundle of mystery. So,
I mean, like, really every photographer is building a figurative passport to people's attention to create new eyes in the world. I mean, there's 1,000 different ways you can do one thing. So imagine if you just view the world 1,000 different ways, you're going to find 1,000 different amazing things you never saw on a walk that you do every single day. And you see the world in completely new eyes. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to be able to share that with people. It really is amazing. And it's almost like your own style, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can recognize your style at this point because I love your photography a lot. And so we're going to go through some of your art photography. And we're going to start with Poetry of Motion. This is where, so first of all, where is this?
Santa Monica, Venice Beach. This is the skate park that they have on the beach.
Wow.
And surprisingly, it was very empty. I mean, this is when my husband flew out to California to see me before we even got married. And I thought he flew out to dump me.
Wait, don't say you're married. Like this entire, we were going to raffle off like, you know, a FaceTime date.
But no, and there was this skateboarder who was skating the pool that he's actually sitting on, and he was taking a break, and I took the shot, and I thought it was just freaking awesome with the mountains, the ocean, the sand, and the concrete. Like, that's just all California. It's water, mountains, sand, and concrete, and it's for everyone, whether you're a skateboarder, surfer, or a rock climber, or a snowboarder. I mean, it's a state for everyone.
That's amazing. And then here we have a building in Mexico.
Yep.
What was this about? Wait, let me see if I can remove. See, okay, so this is the full picture. I think that makes it a lot nicer.
Yeah, so this is actually a building that was built by a father and his father for, I think, 10 years maybe, that they built from the ground up, and they made it into a boutique hotel on the beach. And right to the right of there, where the water is breaking, is an actual popular surf spot. So you see all the locals and people who moved to Mexico, to California, just to surf that spot in that corner. And it was amazing, beautiful location. It was, I think, 35 minutes away from Cancun, up on the coast. So it was very quiet and very filled with locals. And there would even be this one person who would horseback ride on the beach. So it was wonderful.
And then this one is from, is it from the temple?
Yes. This was a house that was built, I think, in the 1900s, and they lived, I think, in Chicago, and this was their summer home. And now it's a historical location where you can actually go and visit. And the architecture he created and made his own and built it, and it's just spectacular.
And then here we have cake. This is my, you know, I think if any building was made of chocolate, this would be a nice one because it looks like a box of chocolates.
Yes. This actually was destroyed during the war with, I think, Japan, and it was rebuilt. And now it's a historical place where you can just drive up for free and walk around. And during the summer, there's an ice cream truck and a snow cone truck, actually, that will give you beverages and snacks and snow cones if you like. But it's a wonderful location right on the peak of a hill, and it's just, the view is wonderful up there. A lot of history with this building, actually. Unfortunately, because of COVID, you can't go in, but it was perfect. No one was there when I went to go see it.
That's
And this
amazing.
is actually all on film.
And this also is in film, right?
Yes, all this stuff is film.
And then I'm gonna go through. Oh my god, this is so amazing. Let me just pull up your banner again, just to remember. Not I love Pod. Follow Debra. And then this is this is in Boston, right?
Yes, so this is actually in Back Bay, right above the freeway. And it was during the whole police brutality, and I started noticing a lot more graffiti because they had just painted it. As you can tell, it's just that all used to be covered in graffiti artwork, but no one had touched it ever since the protesting. And then once that broke out, you started seeing a lot of Black Lives Matter and I Can't Breathe artwork, and I just thought that was really, really cool to capture, because the city will paint over that. You never know. In Massachusetts, they'll paint over it in a month or two afterwards, depending. But it's kind of cool too. Controversial art, graffiti, they don't touch sometimes. They'll just leave it as is for a while.
Then this also was a really important. I think you showed this to me when you took it, and I thought this was,
really important. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is literally a block away from where the I Can't Breathe graffiti was.
Yeah, I know actually, I used to live in that neighborhood, so I actually know this fence right there. And then we're going to go quickly through some of these pictures. I think some of these are in the South. And then some of these are, oh, wait, let me take out the banner for this one, because this is my single favorite picture ever. Such a great picture. How did you frame this? Like, how does this work from an artistic point of view?
So I was in the cornfields in Pennsylvania, and literally just by dumb luck, driving in between cornfields, and I saw this one rum winery, and I saw the vintage car, and I told the person I was with to turn around because I wanted to see that vehicle, because I love taking photos of vintage cars. And we pulled over, and the whole setting with the wine vineyard and the small windmill, like it just was a perfect setting. Really, I couldn't have asked for better setting ever.
Like, this was not staged. This was,
No, it was just by luck. Driving by, wandering around in the farms of Pennsylvania, and this is what I came across.
And then, this is also Pennsylvania, right?
Mm-hmm. The inside of that vehicle, yeah.
It's more Pennsylvania. And now we're going to do some of these pictures that you took in Natick, where they were shooting the Transformers movie. And these are the pictures that you took of the actors when they weren't, on screen, like they were behind the stage, right? So I fucking love these because so
the pastel coloring is just really awesome.
And this is right next to where you live, right?
Yeah, it's not that far at all. And if you look close, the first car, I guess the license plate is music notes. Yeah. I don't know how to read music, so that whole front bumper is music notes.
I know how to write music. It's MUSIC. I couldn't even spell it right in my joke.
Oh, I get it.
This is so great. The caption, which people aren't seeing, says, "Excuse me." This car actually looks like my friend Faraz's dad, and
it's like a truck I wouldn't mind having. Like, Chevys are awesome.
I'm gonna take a picture of this. we're gonna go back to, oh my god, this. Can you not imagine, like, the movie Cars? Like, could this not be from the real life? Like, is this not from a movie scene? This whole series is so great. I love this so much. And this is also from that same junkyard.
Yes. Which was such a cool junkyard. And the stuff that he had in his garage was some new Yamahas and cool muscle motorcycles. It was neat.
That's amazing. And then here is Out of Gas. I think also in the same junkyard. This is so cool. Is that a newer race car in the background?
Say that again?
Is the car in the background, is that like a newer race car, or is that also a vintage car?
So that's actually a vintage car, but it's one of the owners who owns that car dealership where they sell old Porsches.
Allah.
And they have a crazy cool selection of vintage Porsche race cars inside that dealership. So I thought that was really cool. And he drives that gold one and an orange one that's super vintage that I see.
And then this is more vintage. This actually looks like Shakib Bhai's car back in the late 90s. He had a Toyota, and it would always run out of gas, and he wouldn't ever turn off the air conditioner even when the gas was running out. And then halfway to wherever we were going, the gas would run out. Then we'd have to push the car. And then finally we have Year of the Rat, because this is the Year of the Rat, right?
Yep. And it says, God bless the cops. And just like we were talking about how some of the city doesn't touch certain controversial graffiti, this is definitely one of them.
Yeah. And then finally, no, these aren't on her Instagram, because
no, so these ones I actually just got this week at the photo lab, and I really wanted to share them, so they will definitely be on my Instagram.
You should post on your Instagram more, because I feel like you have like 10,000 great photos and then you post like 5.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that. My husband tells me I need to do one every day, which is actually a challenge accepted. I'm definitely going to do that now.
You should do that. And then my final question to you, and this is something that I've been trying to get you to do as well, is display your work in a gallery. But how do you see your photography changing over, like, after all of this is over? Like, do you have any idea what's going to happen?
When you say all of this is over, are you talking about COVID or just Okay, so with COVID, so I'm kind of just preparing myself that COVID won't go away for another year or two. So if that is the case, I want to work more on the perspectives of certain subjects like global warming, and focus more on nature landscaping photography, and seeing how drastic that has changed from last year even to today's. And not only that, but I think street photography definitely I want to showcase more of, since obviously people are a huge subject of mine to capture. And since I can't capture music as often as I would like anymore, then street photography is most definitely going to. Because as the years get crazier, I feel there's even more crazier things out on the streets going on. So
yeah.
So those two things I definitely want to work on more and just showcase more and to bring more attention to. I would feel that would be really cool.
That
especially
would
with
be that would be really cool. And I look forward to, all of this, because I think that it's a real joy for me to be able to see how, like the many facets of your art, um as in Bengali, somebody so talented would be called Paikana. So you truly are Paikana. But finally, everybody, guys, follow Debra on good_still_exists. And thank you so much for sharing, with just all these stories and all of your art. And I think that a lot of people think that you have to have this degree, or you have to know all these people.
no.
But
Mhm.
I mean, you have a degree now because you're going to school, but when you started doing all of this, it was just you and your passion, and you didn't like, you didn't know a million people. It just it was like, it was being in the right place, and just like putting yourself out there. And I think that's also
Creating
very
the
inspiring.
opportunity to arise and being prepared for that is a huge thing that you kind of have to put yourself and work for, because
Yeah.
you focus more on something else and you're going to miss that opportunity and not be, or that opportunity may come and you're not prepared for it. So
Yeah.
definitely just everything like me and just go all the way. Do it. You won't regret it.
So any last thing you have to say to any, would say to the viewers, or everything, or just to the world in general? You can say whatever you want. Nobody's gonna watch this, so you're safe.
Well, some are watching it now, which is awesome. No, just thank you for everything. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for listening, whether it's just a few or 1,000 people or just one person. And that just is what makes me feel like I'm doing something good, because my work hasn't gone to waste, because there are some out there just right here on a rainy Saturday morning listening to and watching some of the work that I have. And that to me is a huge thing. And thank you. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Join us next week for Arafater Astana. You know what's funny is that we always text on Saturday mornings just when I'm about to go live, and you're always like,
I know, and finally today I'm like, wait, I'm actually on it.
Well, thank you for everything. And guys, the last thing I will leave you with is, if you ever find yourself in Boston, both Debra and her husband are really amazing chefs, and they love to cook, and they love to share what they cook. So if you're ever in Boston, and I will say this, that your roast turkey was like, your photography is amazing, but your roast turkey was, I would rather have that than a million photos.
Roast
So
turkey with gravy and apple pie.
yeah. I have some of the pie in the fridge, so I'm gonna, in the deep freezer, so I'm gonna heat that up now.
Nice.
So thank you for joining us today, Debra. We love you, and I'll see you. I'll see you guys on Saturday, and I hope next Saturday. And Debra, I hope I get to see you before next Saturday.
No, you will, definitely. I'll be in the city shooting. I'll come by.
Perfect. Well, and I'll have Akil Khan say bye to you.
Oh.
ওই তুই কিসের ছবি তুলতাছস? তুই আমার পুটকির ছবি তুলবি নাকি? দেখ আমার পুটকি. He was just saying hi. All right. Well, I'll see you guys. I'll see you later, Debonator. Thank you, guys. Tune in next week.